This is my final project presentation for Principles of Crisis and Emergency Management. Outline. Hurricanes can be expected every year in the tropical areas of the world. Recently, Hurricane Irma devastated the southeastern part of the United States and parts of the Caribbean from August 31st until September 11th, 2017. Many records have been set by Hurricane Irma. There are also trends in the weather that have affected the probability that hurricanes may occur. Hurricane Irma has proven to have caused a great amount of damage to the Caribbean and parts of the United States of America. Hurricane Irma was a very devastating storm that will continue to be remembered over time. With wind gusts reaching 185 miles per hour, Hurricane Irma stayed a Category 5 hurricane for more than 3 days. When Hurricane Irma finally hit Florida, its wind speeds were 142 miles per hour. The storm was a total of 650 miles wide, which enabled the storm to affect many areas as it traveled through the Caribbean Sea and the Gulf of Mexico. Hurricane Irma caused flooding throughout the state of Florida, including flooding in major cities. Hurricanes are all caused by the same weather conditions. Most hurricanes occur during the summer or fall. This is when the water is warmest and the water can evaporate into the clouds from the surface of the ocean. From this point, it is easy for a hurricane to form, as long as there is little to no wind shear. Wind shear can cause the storm to disperse before it forms into a hurricane. If there is no or little wind shear, the heat will build up and a low pressure front will form. The low pressure area will cause the clouds to start spiraling inward and cause a hurricane to form. Related hazards. Living in areas that are prone to experiencing disasters are a hazard in itself. There are many other factors that can be hazards as well. A hazard and a vulnerability assessment may help you better understand hazards that are in your area. We live in Florida, so it is a hazard to live here because we experience hurricanes almost regularly. There are areas that experience other types of hazards, such as brush fires or earthquakes. There are hazards that are directly related to hurricanes. The first hazard that is related to hurricanes is storm surge and storm tide. Storm surge is the massive waves that are produced by the storm. Storm surge can be a very devastating hazard because waves can pack some power in them and anything that is in their way they will destroy. Storm tide is an excessive amount of water that comes to the coast and can cause lots of damage by flooding, along with threatening citizens' lives. Another hazard that is experienced during a hurricane that is related to storm surge and storm tide is heavy rainfall and flooding. If the hurricane is moving slowly and covers a large area, there will more than likely be heavier rainfall than a smaller, faster-moving storm. These heavy rains will eventually result in flooding, especially when combined with storm tide. Hurricanes are classified by their wind strength, therefore there is definitely high winds associated with hurricanes. These winds are responsible for tearing buildings apart and moving debris from your property to your neighbor's property. Hurricane Irma had especially devastatingly high winds, with gusts reaching 185 miles per hour. Due to the high winds that are experienced during hurricanes on occasion, there are short-lived tornadoes that are formed within the hurricane. Disaster response. During a hurricane, people tend to really come together in order to help the people who are affected by hurricanes. At a local level, it is important for the government to try to assess the damage done by the storm. The local law enforcement agencies patrol the streets after a hurricane to ensure that it is safe for the citizens to leave their homes or return from evacuation. Local agencies may have food or water to provide for the citizens of the community affected by the storms until more help can arrive. The Salvation Army and the American Red Cross are two other agencies that are known to send help to areas affected by a natural disaster. These agencies are especially helpful. They have clothes they can give families who lost everything in the storm, and they can provide food and water to those who need it the most. In times after natural disasters occur, there can never be enough food and water that is supplied. There are always long lines of people waiting to get supplies, so the more agencies that respond with help, the better. There are other organizations that respond to disasters as well. These organizations can consist of utility companies. Citizens who lose power after a storm are especially thankful when they start seeing the trucks that are there to restore power to their homes. Hurricanes occur during the hottest times of the year, and that is what causes some deaths of elderly people, the heat. Another great sight for people who are dealing with hurricane cleanup is contractors who are ready to start rebuilding after the hurricanes. Theories of disaster. Why do disasters occur? There are many different reasons why disasters occur. Man-made disasters can occur because of human error. Earthquakes can occur because of the Earth's plates shifting. With hurricanes, they occur for a specific reason. The weather is a system in which patterns occur. When a specific pattern of weather occurs, hurricanes are formed. One very important thing that is needed to make a hurricane is very warm water. The Atlantic Ocean or the Gulf of Mexico needs to be at its warmest in order to start the process of creating a monstrous storm that is going to devastate many communities. After the water gets warm enough and the water begins to evaporate, water vapor is the main source of energy for a hurricane. The water vapor creates rain and it warms the air temperature. After these steps occur, a low pressure front is created, providing that there is little to no wind shear. Once the low pressure front is formed, winds begin to pick up and they start to spiral into the center of the low pressure front. This creates an eye for the storm. The storm will work its way up to being classified as a hurricane. Hurricanes are classified by their wind speed. Hurricane Irma was an exceptional storm because she held a Category 5 wind speeds for 3 days. Most hurricanes cannot hold that much power for that long, but Hurricane Irma was continuously using more and more water vapor to keep fueling herself and keep getting larger and larger. Details of disaster. Hurricanes seem like simple beings, but they are more complex than they appear. The complexity of a hurricane can elaborate on its causes, consequences, terminology, and taxonomy. The cause of a hurricane has to do exactly with the water and environment condition. The consequences of a hurricane are very severe and widespread. Along with hurricanes also comes specific terminology that is needed to accurately portray what is likely to happen once the hurricane makes landfall. And the taxonomy is a very important part of understanding how hurricanes are formed. Key hazard concepts. Exposure to a hurricane, a hazard such as a hurricane like Hurricane Irma, is an unsettling thought or situation to be in. Being exposed to Hurricane Irma was a life or death situation. Many people lost their lives due to the storm or the circumstances provided by the storm. Because of the power being out because of Hurricane Irma, there were multiple people who died in a nursing home in Miami. There are many ways in which people were exposed to Hurricane Irma that have changed the way we will prepare for hurricanes in the future. Planning strategies. Planning and preparedness are the most important parts of managing a disaster. Hurricanes are easy to plan for. They may not be planned for in a way in which you prefer, but a plan is a plan, and safety is the main thing to keep in mind because material things can be replaced. Evacuation can and should be a part of your plan for a hurricane. There should be a route that you have chosen to get away from the area that is to be affected by the hurricane. Thankfully, when a hurricane comes, there are many days in advance that you know about the hurricane and are able to evacuate in a timely manner. Evacuating can be difficult when you are leaving your home behind and you do not know if it will be there when you get back. But while you are evacuated, you and your family will be safe.